Hi folks, Stan here. I'm back with Chapter 8 from my Sussex Coast Road travelogue, where we explore secrets from Hove to Shoreham today. We find karma for desecrating an ancient grave, a tidal lock harbour, the perfect light for silent films, a restored 19th century fort, and much, much more. Come along and have a closer look with me. Like many of the coastal towns, Hove was a small fishing village surrounded by open farmland until the 19th century. The only other industry was smuggling, which came to a head in 1818 with a pitched battle on the beach between the smugglers and the revenue men. The town started to grow as Brighton spilled over its boundaries to accommodate the increased demand for seaside residences. The residents of Hoveside indicated their address was in Brighton and not the little decrepit town of Hove. The expansion quickly moved down the beach with the building of the usual elegant four-storied Regency terrace houses around lovely park-like squares. As the town grew, the upper crust liked the wide boulevards and parks away from the hustle of Brighton. In later times, when asked if you were from Brighton, you snobbishly replied, Hove, actually. About a quarter of a mile from the Peace Angel, Palmera Square stretches from the seaside up to Church Street. The houses around its sides are lovely examples of Victorian elegance. The park square's creation was a bit of a story. To level it, workmen flattened a Bronze Age mound, which turned out to be an ancient chief's grave. Along with an axe and dagger, an amber goblet was found in the tree trunk coffin. This 3,000-year-old artifact indicates that there was trade at the time with Europe, as the cup's origins were from the Baltic. The square had another oddity in more recent times, only about 200 years ago. The Victorians had an obsession to build bigger structures, usually with the new uses of iron. The Chain Pier in Brighton is a good example of that. In 1832, an English botanist and gardener started to build an iron and glass conservatory in Palmera Square. He had failed to raise funds for one in Brighton, so decided to build a bigger one in Hove, covering 1.5 acres. Unfortunately, the engineering was not up to the task, and the day before the official opening in 1833, when the supporting scaffolding was removed, the iron could not support the weight, and it came crashing down. Luckily, no one was hurt, except for the botanist, who was said to have gone blind from shock. The builders quickly left the country. The ruins supplied Hove with a tourist attraction for the next 20 years until it was finally removed. Another quarter mile along the coast road, we find something old and something new. The channel side of Hove is lovely because it has been left as lawns. The paved promenade between the lawns and the beach is a great place for walking or jogging, and it has been for many decades. Along the edge of the walkway, we find the multicolored beach huts. Victorians loved to walk along here too, and often stopped to enjoy the view. The city built decorative beach shelters with benches and glass so visitors could enjoy the view and sea air away from the harsh element. It is said that they were enjoyed even by the royalty. Some of these shelters have been renovated and still decorate the seafront. We can find one near a new artwork called the Hove Cliff. The sculpture atop has the look of a planetary model, except the planets are local symbols. The sculpture is supposed to be replaced every 18 months. There are many other fascinating things to see in Hove. On a rainy day, a stop at the extensive Hove Museum and Art Gallery keeps us dry and entertained. Following the A259 Kingsway, another half mile past the artificial lagoon, we come to the Portslade-on-Sea, which is a suburb of Hove. On the channel side, we notice the top end of Shoreham Harbour. This stretch of the A259 from Portslade to the ancient town of New Shoreham has some interesting features. We can hardly miss the chimney of the power plant on the far side of the port, which is a beacon for many miles around. Portslade is very industrial, with many warehouses and small manufacturing companies lining both sides of the harbour. Not pretty, but good for the local economy. The port is the largest between Dover and Plymouth and has been used for hundreds of years. Vessel size restrictions limit its capacity, and larger ships cannot be handled. As we get to where the River Arter enters the channel, we have an interesting configuration. The river is flowing west to east, parallel to the coast, from where the shifting sands and pebbles have formed a spit of land over many years. On the east side is the entrance to the port, but still considered part of the river. There are tidal locks here in order to maintain the water level in the inner harbor. This restricts access to 6-hour periods twice a day as the tides change. Another mile down the A259 gets us past the big box stores and the marina and into the Old Town. Although Shoreham is much smaller than its neighbors, there was a time during the Middle Ages when it was much larger and far more important than the local villages. Because of this, it has a huge Norman church, St. Mary de Hove. The church was built by one of William the Conqueror's friends for a monastery in France. This Grade 1 listed building still serves as the parish church and is a real surprise to see such an impressive building in a small town. The best way to see the next part of the town is on foot. Walking back to the A259 from the church along the pedestrianized East Street, we come to the new Arter Ferry Bridge, which in 2013 replaced the old Arter Ferry Bridge, which probably replaced the Arter Ferry. The walk across the pedestrian bridge on a sunny day is lovely, and we get a good look at the river with its boats and marinas. The old town is behind us, and Shoreham Beach in front. There is more to see in town, so we walk back and turn to our left. A must-see is the Marlips Museum, right in the corner of Middle Street and the A259, not too far from the church. The chessboard patterned building made of flint and Canaan stone is hard to miss. Having been built near the end of the 12th century makes it one of the oldest non-religious buildings in England. What it was built for is up for debate. We've been told it could have been a warehouse, a courthouse, a market, or a chapel. Better suggestions include that of a priory or a meeting place for the Knights Templar. Thankfully, in 1922, it was purchased by the Sussex Archaeological Society and converted to a museum. The 2,500 items on current display show everything from pre-Roman times to the shipbuilding of the last century. A tour of the museum, inside and out, and structurally, is well worth the time. Back to the car, and we drive west out of town. Cross the bridge and at the first roundabout take the first exit and head towards the sea. The road quickly turns left, and we are headed back towards Shoreham, but on the other side of the river, on the spit that is Shoreham Beach. Before World War I, Britain's fledgling silent movie industry used Shoreham Beach in some of its movies because of the excellent light. After the First War, with housing being at a premium, people moved to the beach and built bungalows out of anything they could find, including old train carriages and scraps of wood. Bungalow Town grew even though there was no electricity or water. The west end of the spit attracted many theater and film people between jobs. With the fear of invasion during World War II, this shanty town was evacuated, with large houses being torn down and smaller ones boarded up. After the war, a well-laid-out town was developed, and all that remains are old pictures and memories of a unique way of life. At the end of the spit, overlooking the River Arter's mouth, is the Shoreham Redoubt. The fort was completed in 1857 to protect the harbour from attack from France. It was built with a wall and a ditch facing the sea. Within 10 years, the big guns were declared obsolete and the fort ineffective, as it was vulnerable to attack from the land. The guns were upgraded, but the fort remained the same. This is where the light was right for the pre-World War I movie makers and was used to film at least 4 silent movies. During World War II, it was used as part of a shore battery. For many years after the war, it fell into disuse until the council tried some restoration in the 1970s. For the last 10 years, the volunteer group Friends of Shoreham Fort have been trying to restore the redoubt and hope to make it a local attraction. We have one more stop. Back the way we came to the A259 and across the roundabout is the Shoreham Airport, now called the Brighton City Airport. The first recorded flight in 1910 makes it one of the oldest in the world. The stunning Grade II listed main terminal, built in 1936 in the Art Deco style, is still in use today. During World War I, the military used it to launch planes towards France. In World War II, it was used again and came under German fire. The annual air show was discontinued after a crash in 2015 that killed 11 people. It is currently used for training, private flights, and a filming site for period movies. I hope you've enjoyed today's road trip. Please press the like button, tell your friends, and subscribe so you'll be notified when the next chapter is published. If you are interested in the book this is based on, you can find the link below in the description. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.